have two guests from Boldr, a company dedicated to simplified outsourcing.
Their name is Boldr.
Yeah.
I mean, they deserve to be on here. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Bold and Boldr. The bold and the beautiful. I think you're the beautiful one. Let's welcome David Sudolsky and Suneet Bhatt. Did I get those right?
Sudolsky, but it's
Sudolsky?
close enough.
All right. What do you guys do? What is it?
Great.
Yeah.
So, in essence, we build teams for companies in the Philippines. We try to call what we do purpose-driven outsourcing.
Okay.
And what purpose-driven outsourcing really means is that we essentially give a shit. So I'll just say that we try to reinvest locally into the community that we work in. So we work with nonprofits in Manila and sponsor educational programs for children while also reinvesting into the teams that we build.
I'm an entrepreneur here in the United States. I have staffing needs. You're going to provide a team for me in the Philippines, which is an English-speaking country.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the right way. I mean, some of the folks in the community talk about the fact that great talent and great skill exists everywhere in the world, but great opportunity doesn't.
Yeah, it's true.
That is,
Yeah.
I mean, we know this for a fact. And so what we help companies do, and what most folks in our space, in the impact outsourcing space, do, is help connect people with skills to opportunities. And that's what we try to do. Bring people in the Philippines to amazing companies in the U.S. We just closed Meetup, actually, right here in New York City. We're helping them build a team out in the Philippines. And it's outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, there are, a lot of Upworks of the world. Sure. What makes your platform special then?
Great. Yeah, so I actually moved to the Philippines when I was 23 years old. And when I was first there, set up another business that was very profit maximizing. And in that first business, I really learned a lot about the problems by setting up a company that's only focused on making money. So we weren't reinvesting in our team members. We weren't reinvesting in the community. And so
your turnover was pretty high?
Oh, yeah, it was really high.
Nailed it.
Yeah, he did nail it. And so when we set up Boldr, we really wanted to be very people first and also very community first. And one of the things that we started seeing that Suneet loves to talk about is that the team members that are with our clients actually stay longer. They're more invested into the team.
Which lowers costs because training employees is a massive driver of cost.
No, that's absolutely right. This is like our pitch. This is outstanding.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think the key thing to your point about what's the difference between Upwork, we have a lot of companies that start by working with Upwork because what you're trying to do is tap into highly skilled labor in a global marketplace. Maybe they time shift and they work slightly different hours. You can improve productivity, or they're just more cost effective. And it works. You get that saving right out of the gate. But what happens is those team members aren't necessarily developing. They're not growing with you. They could churn and turn over. They could find something else. And there's
a quality control problem, too, a lot of times with outsourcing. Like when I get on the phone and they send me to a foreign call center, a lot of times the quality's just not there. They can't.
Yeah, they say their name is David, but they clearly.
Clearly. And I think there is a lot of talent out there, but there is a quality control problem with outsourcing.
And that's what we help manage, right? So the difference between going with us versus Upwork is you have team members that are there specifically to help train employees, onboard, document, backfill when someone gets sick and can't show up for work, help manage so it mitigates your burden for having to manage those people and your risk. So that's some of the stuff that we help with.
What I want to actually, I have a question for you. So you said you moved to Philippines when you were 23. You don't look much older than 23.
That's a really nice compliment.
That's fun. You don't have to tell me how old you are. What kind of work can be outsourced, and what kind of work should be outsourced?
Yeah, so I would argue that especially if you're an entrepreneur, I would focus on, every entrepreneur, you want to focus on your strengths. Any business wants to focus on what they're uniquely good at, and then I would argue that you should move things that you're not differentiated on or actually better at to another provider. So
right, because I'm thinking there are things, I'm just like, no, I need to talk to you in person about it. Well, I can think of a list of things. I'm like, I like, for example, me, I'm comfortable working with a programmer wherever because, we're just trade codes.
Yeah,
but if it's like...
I can outsource that.
Okay.
So like sales, for instance, is something you might want to consider keep in house. But then your customer support teams, especially if it's non-voice support, you might want to consider moving that overseas into a lower cost market where you can get highly qualified and highly trained team members.
And in terms of the people can find on your platform, what kind of work do they do?
Sure. So we focus on a handful of things. The way we look at it is any human-driven process that you feel comfortable with, and now you want to take it to scale, that's what we're going to help you do. So if you have a great customer support team and you know your process and you know how it works, you just need more people to handle it, we can take that process to scale. Ditto for sales enablement, or data enrichment. So you have a bunch of contact information. You need to supplement that with more data and learn more about those profiles.
So does that mean I have to know how it works before outsourcing it? For example, if I'm like, I need a graphic designer and I don't have one, I can't just go to you, hey, find me a graphic designer. But if I have a graphic designer who's pretty good in-house already, and I know, okay, I need 10 different logos for 10 different things I'm building, then I can source it?
So we can definitely help you build your team. But as a rule of thumb, if you're building a business and you're doing something for the first time, the only way you're going to know if you're doing it well is if you do it yourself. So if you outsource that and then you don't manage it effectively, you don't know if you're actually doing the right work. So that's something that we coach people on. So if you're hiring your first graphic designer, we'll help you build that team. We'll just talk to you about the time investment for collaborating.
Yeah, but you're describing what we lived through with the age of outsourcing that started in the 90s, that corporate America was like, oh, it saves money, but, they didn't know how to manage them. They didn't know their culture. They didn't know anything. And it was just a disaster from a consumer standpoint.
But also from a community standpoint, because what you were doing is you're hiring and outsourcing all these teams in global, in foreign countries. And then after 9 months, you hadn't trained them, you hadn't transitioned stuff effectively, and they were turning over because they're like, I'm not happy in my job.
And you made a lot of politicians fear outsourcing. There's that point as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's why we view it as the future of outsourcing, which is mission-driven outsourcing, which is you have to care about not just your client, not just your team members, but the communities where they work. And if you take a holistic approach on it, it's an incredible way to build your business. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, where do we find out more?
Let's go for it.
Yeah, no, online, bolderimpact.com. Check us out on LinkedIn, Suneet Bhatt, David Sudolsky. I think that's really it, right?
Oh, well, salama po. Thank
we'll
you. And
send you
Philip.
people to stalk you too, and maybe one day find out how you're. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, outsourcing.